What's up, guys? Welcome back to a new video here. So we have some interesting news coming out on the foreign policy front regarding the Russia-Ukraine war. This war has been going on for several years now, and one of Trump's major campaign promises, guys, was going to be the fact that he was going to end this war possibly before he was even inaugurated. Obviously, that didn't happen, but here he is early in his term looking to force a ceasefire or a conclusion to this war. And interestingly enough, we've actually seen kind of some threats or leverage, whatever you want to call it, towards Russia and towards the Russian President Putin. And he put out a statement because apparently, according to a number of reports, Ukraine is interested in a negotiation while the Russians are not. So, in light of that, here is a statement from President Trump. I'm not looking to hurt Russia. I love the Russian people and always had a good relationship with Putin. And this is by the radical left Russia hoax. Okay. We must never forget that Russia helped us win the Second World War, losing almost 60 million lives in the process. True. All that being said, I'm going to do Russia, whose economy is failing, also true, and President Putin a big favor. Settle now and stop this war. It's only going to get worse. If we don't make a deal soon, I have no other choice but to put high levels of taxes, tariffs, and sanctions on anything being sold by Russia to the United States and various other countries. Let's get this war, which never would have started if I were president, over with. We can do it the easy way or the hard way, and the easy way is always better. It's time to make a deal. No more lives should be lost. So again, Trump basically saying, hey, let's get an agreement now, or we're going to destroy your country economically. And this comes at a time, guys, which is super interesting. Look at this yesterday coming out of Ukraine, where we see massive Ukrainian drone strikes on Russian oil refineries all across the country. And this was all over the place. Pretty wild stuff. And you have to wonder whether or not the constant pressure that's being applied on Russia by the Ukrainians, whether or not it forces a Russian to the table eventually. Because guys, people forget this war was supposed to be over within a couple of days, but 3 years later, Ukraine still stands, and it's an extraordinary achievement, and that's no question due to the help of Western funding. But the Russians at some point are going to be forced to settle here, I think. But the question is going to be, do they keep all their land? Does Ukraine get NATO? That's all going to be in the negotiations. I just find it hard to believe Ukraine would not be admitted into NATO after all of this, especially if the Russians are able to keep the land they've taken. But again, it remains to be seen what happens. But amidst these threats and amidst these Ukrainian drone strikes, we actually see apparently Russian President Putin in the middle of the night was rushed to the Kremlin. And this is unclear whether or not it's over the possibility that maybe there's going to be some sort of phone call between Trump and Putin, but it would be strange for that to happen in the middle of the night. My thinking would be because of these massive strikes on Russia by Ukrainian forces, Putin was rushed to the Kremlin in order to deal with this. But again, it's still an unbelievable scenario we have going on here. And as this happens, we're actually seeing today that Russian President Putin was actually open to negotiations, which again is pretty wild. This comes after Trump's statements, and he also says again, trying to flatter Trump, which again we see with a lot of these world leaders. What they try and do is, if Trump's 2020 victory wasn't stolen, Ukraine war may not have happened. Again, I don't. Of course, he's just saying this to play into Trump's narrative, try and goad him, but maybe try and leverage this into a better deal, which I don't think is crazy to think. If Trump's 2020 victory wasn't stolen, Ukraine war may not have happened. If he had been president in 2020, if it wasn't stolen from him, again, notice the rhetoric he's using, the rhetoric the same that Trump uses, obviously trying to goad him, uh, basically to trying to create a rapport of sorts. Maybe the Ukrainian crisis that arose in 2022 would not have happened. Again, it's pretty wild, the entire thing. And this is a video potentially of Putin being rushed to the Kremlin. Look at this, guys. You see his motorcade speeding across the Kremlin. So I would imagine this is more dealing with these Ukrainian drone strikes that are ongoing. Um, Again, guys, by the way, if you're enjoying the content, make sure to like and subscribe. It's super good for the algorithm. And again, Amazon links and products I use are going to be in the description. And if you buy it, it gives me a commission and it helps the channel out immensely. So listen, guys, the question is going to be, will this war end? How will it end? Who will get the upper hand in negotiations? I think you would think that Trump would be obviously more courteous towards the Ukrainians because we're still seeing Ukrainian funding go through. According to the Trump administration, they actually placed a halt on foreign aid for the first 90 days, I believe. Of course, with exceptions to Israel, no surprise there. And an exception to Ukraine, which is also pretty interesting, you would think, because there is a lot of Republicans disagreement with Ukrainian funding. So that's very interesting. So we got a very interesting next few weeks coming ahead of us. It's going to be crazy to see how this war ends, if it ends. Because, guys, the thing is, you never know. If Ukraine continues with these strikes, as we see here, just pretty wild stuff. If they continue with these strikes, the Russians could be forced into some sort of quote unquote retaliatory strike, however you want to phrase it, or in some sort of massive strike against Ukraine. So time is of the essence here. This war has been going on for a long time, and at some point it just needs to end. So hopefully everyone can cooler heads could prevail, because this is a wild, wild war, and this could just escalate. All it takes is one missile to fall into Poland, and Article 5 is invoked. And then we have World War III. So no one wants that to happen. So that's what I got for you guys today. Again, make sure to like and subscribe. It's super good for the algorithm. Major, major things coming up over the next few weeks. So you guys are going to be really excited about that. So if you want to hear what's going on, make sure to like and subscribe again. So thank you guys. Have a good day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.